Question 25, Don says, is it meaningful to give this ratio in early fourth density? And if so, would you do that? So what is the ratio in fourth density? Ra says, in many ways, it is quite meaningless to speak of orgasm of male and female in higher densities, as the character and nature of orgasm becomes more and more naturally a function of the mind-body-spirit complex as a unit. Let's talk about this first, and then we'll go to the next paragraph. I can only speculate because we're talking about fourth density or higher density experience, and this is probably the reason why is because we're talking about an orgasm that is the culmination of our interaction, right? That's why you know how we sometimes say eargasm as a colloquialism for saying, I am enjoying this music so much that I'm having an eargasm. There are other like mental orgasms or these kind of explosive pleasures that we have when things are collapsing. You see, when separation collapses. This is the kind of experience that we have in the human form. Well, I believe, and this is my speculation, that these experiences are more, let's say, commonplace in higher densities, because clearly when there is no veil and when we are at a higher density of consciousness, then experiences must be, let's say, first more common and intense. And so the nature of orgasm, or the nature of this bliss, is more constant and less obscured by veiling conditions, you see. So again, that's just my speculation, and it doesn't have to be that way, but that's what I read. Because Ra says, in many ways, it's quite meaningless to speak of orgasm of male and female as if there was any difference. In both the male and the female, the orgasm reaches a certain point of experience in which reality is revealed as non-dual, as just this one big intense bliss, right? This can happen with music. It can happen with lectures such as this, or reading a book, or any experience that brings the mind to that point kind of touches with that essence, right? And that's why it is said that orgasm is the nature of God. You know, that is, I remember hearing a long time ago that the energy of the universe was a constant orgasm. And this is something that a lot of cultures talk about, because it is. And if you have had an experience, a mystical experience, then you can see exactly what I'm talking about. It's the same energy. It's the same intense, at least in the human form, it's unsustainable. You know, it comes at bursts and then it goes away, just like an orgasm. So yeah, all of this, I think it's normalized sort of in the higher densities, and so it's kind of meaningless to say the male orgasm and the female orgasm. We're talking about biological functions that produce this sort of experience, and that's why we have such an addiction to sexuality in our world, because we are a depressed world that would look for alcohol, sex, and drugs, and activities, and so on, because we yearn this. And like Ram Dass said at one point in one of his lectures, all of these addictions are just attempts to seek the creator, you know, attempts to collapse this duality. And, you know, instead of seeing them as people with problem, you can just see them as people with this beautiful yearning for the creator, you know, and they look for it in activities and substances and so on. And, you know, there's a beauty there. What we want to do, of course, is to kind of normalize this. So we can see even here the parallel, if I can throw this in, that when we seek meditation as the source of our equanimity, what we're doing is basically normalizing these needs for intense experiences in our day-to-day life. So in the human form, how does the bliss of the universe is experienced? A lot of people mistake this and say, oh no, this is the mundane, ordinary experience. I'm looking for that bliss, for that moment in which I'm going to explode and stay there, just like psychedelics do, or sex, or music, or whatever. I want to reach that state. Well, it seems that state is unsustainable, and you can only reach a state of equanimity within yourself that grows with time. And that is the purpose of meditation, or mindfulness, or the vacuum of everything, or the void. All of these things started to bring a different bliss that is enhanced over time. And so it's almost, there's so much to talk about here, because that would be the conditioning of your nervous system over time to sustain even more this light of consciousness and so on. There's so much to talk about here, but just wanted to mention that.